Hey everyone, it's Julian here today. I'm going to be showing you how to make Archie, Hamilton, Rossi, and Traumer style minimal deep house. As usual, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets. The entire template is available at the top of the description on my website. Definitely grab that, guys. It's a great way to take your tracks to the next level in this new year. You know, really support yourself, making your best tracks of your life. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 128 BPM. First thing we got here is the bass line. Now, first thing you'll notice is actually a very simple one-bar bass line. And even before I show you the notes, we can just talk about that. As far as the overall groove goes, you know, these tracks are very loopy, right, when it comes to, like, the main rhythm section. It's kind of like you have this, you know, one-bar steady loop going, and then you add all these things underneath that, which are all changing and doing this crazy stuff, and that's really what makes it work. But when it comes down to the bass line, you know, just like a simple 1 or 2 bar groove, I think is best, especially like when I was studying Rossi's tracks. He does that a lot. But basically, what's happening here note-wise, you can see, so we're in the key of G sharp minor, and it's a very simple bass line. It's literally just the root note, right, the 4th, and then the 5th. And what's happening here is a few different, like, very smart things with the simple bass line. So the first thing is kind of like the call and response, where you give them the G sharp, and then there's the dun, 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 where you're bouncing between those, right? Like, those notes are kind of talking to each other. It's also this little pause here, where this just hits, and then you get a second, and then the response comes. It's almost like a vocal melody or something, right? So it's very catchy for a lot of, like, those reasons of just simple stuff happening inside of the pattern. For the actual sounds, made with operator, we're doing FM here, but we're not actually, or we're not doing any FM here. We're using the, yeah, you can see it's got all 4 oscillators just playing side by side. We've got a saw wave, a square wave, and then a triangle wave, which is kind of like the sub, but you'll notice that's an octave up. And this can really help you actually to kind of just make this a bit fatter. If I turn that off, and then back on, you see it gets a lot more full because you have that, like, higher, like, kind of low mid-range harmonic coming in. And then still the nice deep saw and square. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. We got a low pass filter with a little envelope on it, just making that a bit pluckier. We're side chaining that to this little side up here, which is just like a little click. And then we're cutting the sub out of this. And I noticed with these tracks, a lot of times what's happening is the bass line has a lot of the sub cut out of it. If I turn that off, see how the EQ just kind of lifts it? Like, when we bring that back in, it just kind of makes it a bit more, like, airy, and kind of it grooves a bit better as well, because all that deep sub isn't weighing this down, right? So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. And then also, it's kind of like how this fits into the track, because typically the bass line could kind of be like this low mid-range kind of groover, and then the kick is where you really get sub. So for the kick, we're using this big fat 909, and I've got a low pass filter on it with an envelope. So this is a great technique to kind of make your kick tighter and more punchy, where you just, yeah, here's like the default kick. So you add a low pass filter to it, and then give it a really short envelope like this, which is all the way up. And so you're still going to get that, like, click and the hit at the start of the sound, but then it'll kind of dull down as it goes, as opposed to just being like that full thing. And it can really help the groove because this is a lot shorter and tighter. Then we're just cutting this at 30 hertz, right? Again, we're letting through more sub on the kick than we are on the bass, actually. And then on the groove here, we got another sub cut up at 43. So again, just to kind of lift the groove. Here's without it. With. See, it just kind of makes that sit a little bit better. And then we're converting everything to mono, because you usually want your kick and bass to be in mono. Then we have the main hi-hat. So this hi-hat these guys use a lot, where you basically it starts with the 909, right? We have this, like a nice fat 909 hi-hat. And then you can see I'm making it a lot shorter with the sustain and decay here. So you're just getting this like tighter, groovier thing. And you can see that really makes a difference. Like if I bring up the sustain and then bring it back down, it grooves so much better like this. So we start with that, and then there's the shaker layered in. And there you go, you get this like earthy, kind of shakery, but also 909 based hi-hat. And again, I've heard that in a lot of these guys' tracks. Then we have this clap. So same deal on this one, just a nice, short, punchy clap. You know, it's like all these main sounds. When they're really short and punchy like this, it creates a really nice groove. It's kind of like UK Garage too, where they'll do the same thing. Like the main drums are really short, and it just creates this tight groove. Then we have the main hi-hats. So what's happening here is it starts with these three, which are just kind of creating a groove together. I'll play those with. Right, you can see they're kind of all three talking to each other. And then on top of that, I've got this sample. Just like straight 16th notes. And then we have this operator hi-hat, which is also doing 16th notes. So this is some white noise. Just right mid, like very short and punchy. And then there's a bandpass filter. And when you put the LFO on that, and then we have this sample and hold, which basically means like random LFO. You can see it moves the filter around a lot, and you get this like morphing texture hi-hat, which when you put that underneath all of these, it adds a lot of life. And then the only thing we have on the groove there is just a bit of side chain. Then we have the percussion. So it starts with this, just like a live, you know, nice live percussion loop, giving us something we can't really get with like programmed percussion, right? And then we also have this one. Right, you can see, so it's another one of those live loops of like live percussion, but then it's chopped up, so you're just getting little pieces of it. It adds a nice groove to everything to kind of have that like just popping in and out. And then we have this thing. So this is one of these drum racks. I grabbed this from over here actually, and yeah, the like all these ones you get with Ableton Suite. And then you can see it's just adding in a few different hits. And you can see it works together really well with the chopped percussion. You know, all of these have to really talk to each other. And then on the group there, we just have a bit of side chain, and we're cutting out the lows so it doesn't get in the way of the bass. Because sometimes those live percussions can have some low frequencies in there that you don't really expect. And then we have all the synths. So, I want to show you all these at once because I think when you hear these in the track and you hear this whole groove happening together, it can sound really complicated, and that's mainly because you're hearing these against this, which adds a lot of groove to it as well. But when you play these on their own, these little audio steps, they're not that crazy, right? So all that's happening here is, you know, we're just taking a few of these. Like some of these are made with audio, like these I took from my Definitive Deep Minimal House Stabs and Chords sample pack on my website at the top of the description. I used that pack and I just grabbed some of those. But then there's also some synthesized ones like this operator. So that's just playing a G sharp minor or a D sharp minor chord, right? Because that's where the bass line is there. And then we've got this, you know, pretty simple FM with some sine waves. Nothing too crazy. I think where they become complicated is how they work together. Hear how those three, like these two, like that, and then this is another one of those from my sample pack, and then it's just reversed. See how they all start to kind of fit together? And even like this, like with the bass line, like that. You can see it's really how they all groove together in the track and amongst themselves. I think that's where it really sounds complicated, because when you hear this all at once very quickly, you think, oh my god, how is that chord stab like kind kind of morphing so much, right? And it's not morphing. It's just that you have multiple different samples that are playing into each other. Right? Like that creates a lot of groove, having that little da-da, and then over here. So see, it's all these little one bar phrases that talk to each other. Even over here we've got like, or maybe like this one. Right? Like you should be able to see in the MIDI how these just like touch each other, literally. And then when you do that, all of a sudden you get these complex grooves that really aren't that complex. I mean, all of these things musically are very simple. You know, the most complicated one's maybe this organ, which is just doing like a little melody in G sharp minor, right? Or like, and see, it's like the different timbres of these, like how this one is very sharp going into the very smooth organ. That's what creates all that groove. And also having these reversed ones helps. Over here I've got this. So this operator patch is actually kind of crazy. I wanted to save this for last and show it to you guys. So what this is doing, so what's happening here is we're doing pretty basic FM from sine waves, and then what's happening is there's like a lot of attack on the first one, so it kind of fades in volume wise. And then what we're doing is I'm automating this chorus pitch here. So if I keep that without the automation, see, it's a pretty standard chord, but then what happens is you just automate that to go down. And it's creating this insane thing where you're still getting that chord, that G sharp minor 9 there, right? You can see, yeah, just basic G sharp minor chord, and then I added a ninth, an octave up. But then, and you can hear that chord, but then there's this crazy morphing thing happening because of the FM. And that automation. There's also a little bit of automation on the filter frequency. And then we got a bit of chorus, high pass filter, and then sidechain. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available at the top of the description on my website. I'll also leave that Deep Minimal House chord stabs pack there as well. Definitely check that out. It's a great library. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. I really don't make a whole lot off of these videos, off YouTube especially, but with these sample packs, I'm able to keep going, keep bringing you guys new videos every single day. Plus, it's a great way to support yourself. You know, you really can make better tracks with these. I've seen people do it. If you grab this today, I promise your tracks are gonna go. It's gonna be like night and day. This is really gonna help you. This template, you can do a lot with just one template. You know, thank you so much for the support, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.